Hey, it's Wally Adamczyk, president of Firestarter Speaking and Consulting, and welcome to the Wednesday Word of the Week. Today, brought to you by the letter J, and we'll talk judgment. Roman leader Tacitus remarked, "Reason and judgment are the qualities of a leader." Judgment, the ability to make a decision or form an opinion objectively, authoritatively, and wisely, especially in matters affecting action, good sense, and discretion. The opposite might be ignorance, cluelessness, or disregard. This chapter was one of the toughest to write. In researching the topic, I found plenty of material on the last judgment and business judgment in the legal sense. I learned that a deck of tarot cards has a judgment card, and when this card appears in a reading, it's usually interpreted as a sign of an impending decision. But in business, there are no tarot card readings, or at least very few. Yet a leader must exercise sound judgment. The question is how? Noted academics Noel Tichy and Warren Bennis have written a book called Judgment: How Winning Leaders Make Great Calls. They make the important point that judgment is a skill that can be developed, refined, and nurtured. Let's refer back to Webster's. Judgment is the ability to form an opinion objectively, authoritatively, and wisely. We see that the leader must be able to take in data from multiple sources and give it all a fair hearing. These data sources may be conflicting. You may not personally like someone who's giving you information, but you still need to take it in. Good judgment means suspending belief in one particular course of action and objectively, that is, in an unbiased manner, assessing all others. In being authoritative, we see the leader delivering judgment with confidence and conviction. Once the decision is made, they issue it forcefully and without doubt. If a leader relates to his team a plan he came up with on the way to work, which he thinks might save the company and their jobs, but adds, it probably won't work, is he demonstrating good judgment? Of course not. I would suggest that judgment is first about thinking and second about doing. It also improves with your communication skills. The problem for a lot of managers is that they communicate poorly and would rather do than think. They wrongly believe that doing the job is the most important thing. Remember, I pay you for your judgment. I still remember these words from the first CEO I worked for after my time in the Marines. He was explaining to me that I was not going to be simply a technical expert. In fact, I probably never would be. I would be supervising people who had been doing the job a long time. I would be among peers who had a higher level of expertise. And he told me I would not be in that initial job forever. But while I was there, he expected me to learn and to make good decisions based on the information I had and the guidance he gave me. He wasn't paying me for my ability to do work. He wasn't paying me for my education. He wasn't even paying me for my experience in the Marines. He was paying me for my ability to pull together all of those assets and make a sound decision. In Getting It Right, Notre Dame on Leadership and Judgment in Business by Viva Bartkus, she says, business is really about performance in the end, and performance is around your judgment, and judgment in the end rests on your values. While judgment may rest on your values, where does it come from? My CEO paid me for it, but where did I get it? For this discussion, we can say that judgment comes from two places: experience and intuition. In some cases, experience feeds intuition, but I'm holding them apart to make the discussion clearer. Experience is the been there, done that, got the t-shirt and don't want to do it again perspective that causes me to not repeatedly touch a hot stove. Yes, it's a great teacher, but it can also be a very costly one. As a leader, you should create such learning opportunities for your people so they can gain experience. You should also seek to learn from the experience of others. Get them to give you the t-shirt so you don't have to go through the hassle of getting it yourself. Intuition has long been viewed as involving a form of analyzing information that differs from rational or analytical processes. Distinctions between rational and non-rational human thought can be traced as far back as Aristotle. The key point is that intuition is a subconscious activity, while most of us would view judgment at the conscious level. In fact, recent research using functional MRIs and other new technologies tells us our emotions or gut play a much bigger factor in decision-making than we ever thought. It's tough to disentangle them and far easier to accept and admit the importance of the rational and the non-rational in solid judgment. The key for the leader is to not only allow, but to encourage both levels of thought to function and to pay attention to both when making decisions. Amar Bede, Tufts University professor of business, asserts supercomputers and analytical models have reduced our capacity for judgment in time when we need it most. The pace of the 21st century can be described as hyper. In moments, perhaps seconds, information cannot be fully passed to a centralized computer using a computer program. And in that delay, an opportunity has passed. Decentralization is based on the judgment of the individual at the point of action. Individuals with knowledge of what is happening at a given place and time must be given the latitude to make a timely decision. It might be nice if algorithms and calculations could make all our decisions, but they cannot. Remember that leadership is about people, relationships, and performance. Decisions on these things simply cannot be automated. How about you? What are you paid for? What are you paying your managers to do? Are they doers? Thinkers? You get paid for your judgment. How good is it? Publius Syrus, back in Rome, said, "A hasty judgment is a first step to recantation." All right, let's take a look at judgment in action and see some things you can do to help improve yours. Conduct after-action reviews to learn what went wrong and right and to learn for next time. Have mentors to learn from. Read Judgment and evaluate every decision as if it would be reported on the front page of USA Today. All right, let's look at judgment in action. Vince was the new external hire president for a $100 million subsidiary of a national road construction company. The subsidiary had operated in this top 30 American city for over 30 years, and the outgoing president had been a fixture in the city. However, the firm had seen several years of declining sales and profits. The incumbent president chose to rest on his laurels, but the negative trend necessitated a change in leadership. Upon his arrival, Vince did all the things that good leaders do. He met with his team, he learned the business, he learned the market, and he listened a lot. He took a close look outside the walls of his company to fully understand the dynamics of the market, and he was disturbed by what he saw. But the facts were impossible to ignore. Over time, this once invincible construction firm had lost its market leadership position. In fact, growth by competitors had actually put the firm at a competitive disadvantage in their market. And this disadvantage was clearly illustrated by the deteriorating financial performance. The parent firm had a very successful track record of growth in North America through organic means and through acquisition. They were adept at scouting for and finding good deals. Their philosophy was to buy and hold. In fact, they had never divested a company. Yet this was exactly what Vince, the new guy, was suggesting. He had done the internal and external analysis and presented his opinion. In his judgment, the firm should be sold. In effect, he was eliminating part of his job, but he knew it was the right thing to do. He was initially rebuffed. That simply wasn't their way. But in the next few months, as financials continued to be poor, he continued to explain his thought process. Despite applying all the best practices of leadership and management he could, the firm continued to lose money. And based on his recommendation, the company was put up for sale. A bidding war quickly ensued from two of the market leaders. In fact, the logical firm to make the acquisition based on size an existing market position was being outbid by a smaller firm looking to make a bigger impact in the market. The problem is the CEO of this smaller purchaser fell in with his ego in the process, and he failed to do the analysis for what the real value of what he was purchasing. He didn't really understand the market dynamics. The larger firm backed out of the bidding, and the smaller contractor gloated about his business acumen as he won the auction for the company. Unfortunately for him, he paid too much for assets that were not positioned well in the market. And just over 2 years after the acquisition, the firm was virtually insolvent and forced to sell at a discount. In this case, he exercised poor judgment, and the subsequent collapse of his company confirmed it. A to Z application, let's talk about judgment in your life. Break out that journal and let's get ready to write. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate yourself on judgment? How would you like to be described by people? List someone you know who exemplifies sound judgment. And why did you pick this person? Be specific. What do they do? Which emotions drive your judgment? That one takes some thought. And what one thing will you do to improve in this area? Well, there you have it. The word of the week was judgment. Don't forget to subscribe when we will come to you next week so you'll know what's coming. We've got knowledge, and I'm looking forward to being with you, but subscribe so you know when it comes out. Wally Adamczyk with Firestarter Speaking and Consulting, and I'll see you soon.